Hello, everybody. My name is Sam Weeks. I'm a full-time admissions consultant, and today I am joined by Arno Marks. Arno is one of our South African clients from last year, who is now at Duke, as you can see by the stash that he's proudly rocking. Arno, how are you?
Hi, Sam. I'm great. How are you doing? Thank you.
Really, really well. Thanks a lot for joining us. Could you
No
start
problem.
by just tell us about your background? Tell us, like, where have you come from?
Yeah. Well, as you mentioned, I'm Arno Marks. I was born and bred in South Africa. My professional background spans law, business, and filmmaking,
Mhm.
which is a very unique combination of, different pathways.
Yeah.
I worked as an attorney in South Africa for over 6 years. I was involved in a family business where I was a director of operations for a portfolio of franchises and Shell gas stations in South Africa, focused on strategic growth and operational efficiency.
Mhm.
And my film career was actually more of a hobby, something that I did on the side. Whenever I'd get a chance, I'd produce short films, award-winning short films. And that's my professional background. My academic background, I went to law school. I'm a film and law graduate, and now I'm at business school.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And you're at Duke.
Yes, I'm at Duke. Yes.
Tell us about Duke. How is student life there?
Student life at Duke has just been amazing. Ever since I've set foot here in July, I was obviously nervous. I've never lived abroad. I left my life as I knew it in South Africa. I left that behind. Obviously, I was nervous. What if I didn't like it? What if it wasn't for me? But ever since I've gotten here, it's just been the best experience. I think it's got to do with we call it Team Fuqua, which is a collaborative culture. And it's not just a tagline. It's really something that we emphasize, we emphasize on it a lot because that's something that's unique to all the applicants, as we all bring different uniqueness to the table, and putting us all together in one class, it's beautiful to see.
How can you give an example of how Team Fuqua really rears its head? We hear about it a lot. All the admissions officers always talk about Team Fuqua. It's all over the website. What does that look like?
Well, the main thing with that, I'd say in my experience, is just being, having collaboration amongst your peers. We all go out of our way for each other. It's just about having a certain integrity, a certain friendliness, a certain, commitment to diversity and a team commitment,
Mhm.
being able to work with others, not just being by yourself.
Yeah.
That's really what we emphasize here. And you have to be able to fit into that mold. Otherwise, Duke's not going to be the right place for you.
Right. So it's more of a cultural thing than like classes around teamwork or anything like that. It's more the vibe and the people that you're surrounded by.
Absolutely. There have been applicants that look perfect on paper, but, maybe when you interview them, you just realize that they're not a good fit for the Fuqua culture because they lack maybe people skills. They lack maybe wanting to collaborate in a team.
Uh,
Uh, so it's important to just have the right background and to just be committed to being part of the Team Fuqua culture.
cool. Okay. And what's it like being there as a South African?
Well, I believe we've only been about 4 South Africans that have studied here.
Wow.
There is actually another South African who's a year above me.
Uh-huh.
So we've grown really close. Even though we're all friends with everybody. So it's not just I've just got him. But it's been a unique experience for me because there isn't really a history of 100 South Africans that have studied here. So
Mhm.
it's an unknown, but I feel like Christopher Columbus. I'm just building a new network for South Africans at Duke. The unknown new land.
I love it.
but I've been loving it. I love North Carolina. The cultures are very much similar to the culture that I'm used to in South Africa. Weather-wise, it's it's in the country. It's not a New York or a Los Angeles. So I've been. It's been my home away from home. This place has quickly become my new home.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So nice to hear. You mentioned before we started talking that it's finals week coming up.
Yes, that's right.
How hard has the academic curriculum been compared to, for example, law school that you mentioned before?
Well, as we say here, it's impossible to fail. You have to work really hard to fail.
Okay.
If you bring your side, if you go to class, if you do every quiz, do every team project, participate in class, ask questions, you're gonna pass. You're gonna be fine.
Right.
It's obviously when you want to be on the dean's list or you want to be part of that 1% of overachievers academically that you have to put in the extra work. But if you come here with the right mindset and you work really hard, you're going to pass. You're going to do just fine.
And which extracurriculars are you involved in? Because there's quite a big club scene, isn't there?
Yes, there is. So I'm in the management consulting club.
Okay.
I'm first year cabinet for that. I'm also first year cabinet for the media entertainment sports club.
Okay, cool.
I'm also part of the entrepreneurship through acquisition club, also on the cabinet there. I'm also exploring entrepreneurial ventures this side, and that being in the States. And on the more fun side, I'm a part of the ski club. I'm on the first year cabinet for that as well. I'm arranging a trip to France in March of 2025. We've had a great interest in that, so I'm very excited for that trip. And I'm also part of Fuqua Vision, which is a unique thing that only Duke has. It's sort of based on SNL styled skits. Every once a semester we have a show night where we do different skits, and it's just based on life here at Duke. That it's like inside jokes, but you have to be at Duke to understand it. So creatively, I'm involved with that as well. Yes,
that's so good. I mean, I'm blown away by how many things you're involved in. How do you find the time?
Well, it's just me. So, I'm fortunate. I didn't come here with a family or anything like that. So I have the time. I've always been like that, even in South Africa. I'd start my day at 4:30 every morning. So for me, it's also about just being an early riser. I said to myself, if I got accepted to Duke, that I was going to do as much as I can, get involved as much as I can. And really just enjoy this experience, because you're never going to have your MBA over again.
It's something we talked about when you were during the application process, wasn't it?
Yes.
About how you have as a character, you do kind of bite off as much as you possibly can.
Yes.
And it is sort of part of you. And I suspect they saw that when they admitted you. And the other question, I'm just looking at my data here. Did you get a scholarship?
I did get a scholarship, yes. I got a partial merit scholarship, yes.
And that's reflecting academic abilities and your, I guess, commitment to the program?
I don't know what it's reflecting, but I don't know what they saw in me. Don't ask me, but I think it's just my diverse background. I mean, this is my 5th degree that I'm doing.
Oh, wow.
I think it's just the uniqueness of, my filmmaking background. And I'm not just a lawyer or just a filmmaker. It's there's more to me than just one career path.
Okay, so you obviously decided to go to Duke, but you applied to a bunch of other schools, and you were thinking even before that about quite a broad range of schools.
Yes.
Walk me through your thought process as you were looking at the UK, at Europe, at the US, and maybe even in South Africa as well. How did you think about your geographic decision?
Well, I've always wanted to come to the US, but I realized I just want to mention that I did apply to MBA programs in 2019. and I wasn't successful in any of my applications. And so I thought my MBA journey is going to be, it's over, it's done, it's finished. But taking that a few years break, from the application process and setting your mind on an MBA did me really well. So this time around, I wanted to broaden my horizons a bit more, applying to a school in the UK and be more realistic at which schools in the US to apply to. Previously, I applied to Harvard. I didn't get in. This time around, I wasn't a re-applicant for Harvard or for Columbia, for those places. I just wanted to focus more on places that, I thought I had a better chance at this time. And I think it's all about just broadening your perspective a little bit more in the application pool. I ended up applying to about, I think, 7 or 8 schools. I think that's good. The more you apply to, it doesn't mean the better your chances are. It's just, you should get 1 or 2 acceptances, acceptance letters within those 8 schools, instead of just applying to 2 schools and just being rejected. You know what I mean?
Right. And perhaps one of the benefits then of working with a consultant is that of those 8 schools, you can make sure that you've got the right breadth and you're applying at the right level as well.
Yes.
Yeah, good.
Yes.
Okay. You talked about your film and entertainment background. That's really quite unusual for MBA applications.
Yes, it is.
How do you think that has affected your experience during the MBA and maybe your goals as you think about your career after the MBA?
Well, I am recruiting for consulting currently, and I'd love to focus in the media and entertainment industries, in consulting. So I'm fortunate to have that film background where I've been both in front of the camera. While I was at film school, I was on South Africa's most popular soap, which is also a very unique thing that Duke really loved. I've got a film degree, I've got a master's in film, and I got involved in the local film community in South Africa. I worked with another producer. I executive produced our award-winning short film. We gave a woman of color, first-time female director, an opportunity to direct a short film about an indigenous community in South Africa, which is also an indigenous community, a small community that a lot of people have not heard of. So, we ended up having a world premiere at an Oscar qualifying film festival, and the short film has just gone on to win various accolades and awards. So it's been doing really well. And I wouldn't, if I didn't have my legal background, which was, negotiating contracts, doing my own entertainment law contracts, all of that. And also my business background, being able to work with the budget and, negotiating and leadership, working with a crew of, 100 people. So that's why as a filmmaker the MBA helps me, because it's fine tuning my business acumen when it comes to, creative storytelling.
Right. So it's taking the filmmaking experience and the soft skills from that, and the hard skills from your law experience, the negotiation experience from your law work, and combining them together into management consulting, which kind of touches on all of those different skills with the MBA and the frameworks from the MBA, makes you quite a well-rounded candidate for management consulting. That's
I'd like to think so. I hope so. But I'm also recruiting for in the entertainment industry. During our fall break, we actually I went with the Media and Entertainment and Sports Club. We went on a track to New York. We visited the headquarters of the NBA, the NFL, Sirius XM, New York Yankees. And I'm actually applying to the NFL now. They've got NFL films where there's a role as a creative producer, which is also something that I can. I'm not just sticking to one recruiting process. It is tough out there, so I'd like to not just put all my eggs in one basket.
Tell me more about that, because that's something we're reading about at the moment. There's a lot of sort of speculation around what the US job market is doing. As somebody on the MBA program now who's kind of hearing the word of mouth in different industries, what are you hearing about the industries that are still recruiting, maybe the ones that are still sponsoring, and the areas that have gone really, really dead?
Yeah. Well, a lot of my friends are recruiting for investment banking, something I know
Oh,
nothing about, and I've
okay.
just been watching them. It's been a brutal, 3, 4 months for them. It's all about networking and balancing your school life and your business events that you have to attend. And that's the same with consulting. We have office presentations, we had coffee chats, we have, it's all about networking, finding the right fit, office fit.
Mhm,
Duke is not a feeder for New York necessarily.
mhm.
We're more a feeder for, offices in Atlanta, Washington, Miami, in consulting. So I think if you're going into consulting and you want to be in New York or whatever, it's better to go to a Stanford or a Harvard but Duke it's not impossible to get into New York, but
Mhm.
we're not a feeder school historically for
Oh,
New York when it comes to consulting.
mhm.
So it's obviously been challenging since COVID, the consulting industry. I think we're doing better now, but it's all just about focusing on networking,
Mhm.
casing, and just acing the interview and suiting, the profile that they're looking for.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember a lot of the consulting applicants with me or when I was doing my MBA, a lot of the consulting
Yeah,
applicants spending a lot of time doing case prep
yeah,
and learning to give the case interview is a really unique skill.
yeah.
Yeah, well, I don't envy you there. Okay, so tell us. So now that you're on the MBA, you look back at it's more than a 2 year journey because you applied, as you said, a few years ago. So you look back at your
Yeah,
entire application journey.
yeah.
What's one thing that you would do differently if you could do it all again?
I will have more confidence in my unique background.
Uh-huh.
Um, because I failed the first time when I applied, I lacked confidence the second time around. I thought because I'm older, I'm in my 30s, by the way.
Mhm.
Did I not maybe miss this boat?
Yeah.
And I didn't know. It was actually a better time for me to apply versus when I applied in my later 20s.
Sure.
I'd also say not to stress as much about having the perfect application. I don't believe that really exists. I was really worried about my test scores,
Mhm.
and it's important to not just, first get your test scores. I'd say just have a good test score and don't during the application process try and keep improving your test score, because you're going to then fall behind with applying to different schools in terms of working on this essay or that essay or perfecting this part of the application. So I was lucky enough to Duke accepts the executive assessment. I went with the executive assessment. I did much better in the executive assessment. I was within their range than I did versus the GMAT. And it was actually fine. It's something that didn't count against me at all.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And let's narrow the question down a bit. If you were speaking to a South African,
Yes.
South African who's let's say 5 or so years kind of following in your footsteps, five or so
Yes.
years behind you, what advice would you give a South African who's looking at MBA programs, particularly in Europe and the US?
I would say they have to get involved in their local community as much as they can,
Mm.
and also display strong leadership skills from an early age, early 20s. Once you graduate and you're in a new corporate job, climbing a ladder, don't just be doing one thing.
Mm.
Pick like three things and be good at all three of those things, and something different, something unique, something that's going to make you unique. And focus on diversity, focus on community, focus on leadership. Um, if I take myself, for instance, flew to America, all the way to America for my interview. I was here just for 4 days and I flew back. And it really paid off because it showed my commitment to the program. And when I got that phone call from that missions committee, that they said to me, congratulations, you got a scholarship, a partial scholarship, that really changed everything for me. And it's just important to not only wake up when you're 28 or 32, really just try and from the get-go get involved in as much as possible.
Yeah, yeah, that's really, really good advice. And I think
Yeah.
that I think your results speak wonders, don't they? You got into Duke Fuqua with a scholarship. You got into
Yes,
Oxford as
I
well.
did get into Oxford. Yes,
Absolutely fantastic set
yes,
of achievements. So, hey,
yes.
massive congratulations, and yeah, it
Thank
was,
you,
it
sir.
was an absolute pleasure. Is there anything you'd like to leave the South African community with? If we're here trying to build up the South African involvement in US MBA programs, is there
Yeah.
anything you'd like to leave and message you'd like to leave to that community to, maybe encourage them to follow in the footsteps that America can be done? You can get into MBA programs here with the right approach.
Of course. I'd say the biggest pro of doing an MBA in America is the summer internships, and that usually leads to a full-time job offer.
Mm,
It's easier to enter the US job market that way than sitting in South Africa applying for a job without a green card. You're not going to get in.
mm,
So if you're serious about a life in America, if you're a finance guy, you want to be in New York, if you're like me, in entertainment, you want to be in LA or consulting, whatever, it's possible you can do it. I'd say you've just got to focus and you'll get a job offer. So I think America is not for everybody. Some people prefer Europe, but there are a lot of South Africans that have done their MBAs in America. I've got a friend, he went to Harvard. Another guy that I met during my application process at the GMAT testing center, he went to Yale. So it's great to see South Africans being represented. If Duke's not for you, there will definitely be a school that's for you. Although I highly encourage anybody to apply to Duke.
fantastic. Well, on that note, Arno, thank you so
Thank you,
much for your
Sam.
time.
Thank
Really,
you.
really nice to speak to you again. And
Nice
I'm
to speak
so
to
glad
you.
Duke is doing so well for you.
Thank you.
And yeah, let's stay in touch.
Thank you, Sam. Will do.
Take
Okay.
care. See ya.